Now this is still based on Anthony's code, and this is very specific. This has a very specific purpose of being computer-controlled WinKey only. So there's no buttons for memory. It has power, 5-volt input. It has, this is TTL. So I didn't put a Max 232 in here. I didn't use the FTDI chip. I went straight to TTL. This is TTL. So I have a USB to TTL converter that plugs in here, 3.5 millimeter jack. This is a just a RCA. This key's the transmitter, and I use an RCA jack so we don't get them mixed up. And then this is the paddle input. Okay, so you can use a paddle. And then right here is a light pipe. There's an LED inside, and there's a light pipe. That's blue tack holding some of that stuff in. But this board is $3. The Arduino chip is the AT Mega 328 is $5. And of course, I had all the other parts in my
junk drawer,
junk box. The only thing you need is the PCB. It does have a 16 megahertz clock in, 16 megahertz clock, and then and so this is a little bit smaller, and it's strictly for WinKey. Hook up your PC, run N1MM, or run. I use CW type in Linux, but run whatever you want and use WinKey to key it. Now,
can you see him go that fast? 16 megahertz.
It can go fast. And it has a beacon mode, so you could actually use it with your Pixie and do beacon.
Can you hold it still for 1 second? That's good.
Okay, so the next project, after that I was having some issues, I had to debug it. So I just made an external based programmer. This is their board, this is a ZIF socket, and that's it. Some LEDs. And then, like I said, this is the header that my programmer attaches to. It's called an ICSP, in-circuit programmer. And then this is 5 volts power. That's why I use white and black for something other than 12. And so this is a very, simple little thing. But you put the chip in there, program it, and put in your circuit. Of course, that one has headers, so I can program it inside that box. I take the top off and attach the programmer, but I can do it. Now, you guys have seen the PowerWorks APA that they just created, the auto power off. That's my next project, and I don't know how they did it, if it's hardware or if it's microprocessor. But see, here's the benefit of the Arduino or the processors, is that you can solve many problems in code that other people would throw hardware at. And so in the example of the APO, what it does is it detects when the voltage drops on your battery, it assumes that you have turned your car off, and then it interrupts power to the grid. So for that project, I had the board and the chip. I've already written the code. I just haven't put the circuit together. The code is probably 20 lines long. But what it does is it uses a voltage. That thing runs on 5 volts. Don't put 13.8 volts in there, but it uses a voltage divider to drop the 13.8 volts to 5 volts so that you can get an analog value off that. And then it looks at that and it makes a decision based on that number. And then there's a relay. I have a relay that goes on the outside of that chip, and it will enable or disable that relay. And that's all the APO is.
So when your battery dies, it turns the radio off?
Can you what?
When your battery dies, if you don't too long, it turns the radio off?
Well, when you turn the car off.
Oh, before
you turn the car off. And I said, well, here's what I'm going to build. And Stephen said, well, what if I want the radio to shut off 2 minutes after you turn the car off? Well, again, to get a LE guy, he's going to throw 5-pound timers at it. He's going to throw all that. Well, for Arduino, I'll just say delay, 120,000, and then kill it.
It's built into my radio.
It's 2 lines. What'd you say?
built into his radio.
It's built in. See, it's built in. I don't know if it's built in ID880. I don't know. But
$30 starter? $30?
Chris,
It was probably in the price.
ID880 digital,
yeah.
it's built in.
Is that timeout or does it detect
Off.
voltage?
No,
Power off 2
Power
hours
off.
in my case.
No, see, then what happens here is that we look, if the alternator's engaged, we make an assumption you're driving, or the car's going, the radio stays on. The minute you kill the battery, the alternator starts, kill the car, the alternator stops, the voltage drops, and we make an assumption that you turned off the car, and we interrupt power.
Yeah, but that's not very practical for mobile operation.
If-
No, but what's really good about it is if you also have a battery, you use like a power gate, you don't want to charge your extra battery off of the car's battery, so I actually have that set up where the APO on the line coming from the car battery coming to the power gate, so it discontinues power going to the power gate, and then the power gate flips over to my spare battery, so I don't drain my car battery.
Right, and in my case, I run a direct link from my battery to the radio, which means it's always on. The radio's not always on, but, you know, it's expensive radio. I don't want any issues with killing that. But so that's what the Arduino and the microprocessor is you can do. In this case, I'm using it as a keyer, and so, you know, I could have bought the master keyer, then I'm stuck with a box that does exactly what they sold it to do. And in this case, I can create a keyer that does what I want it to do.